Happy Monday already. It's a little daytime stream. It's about 2:30 where I'm at. Let's see. I'm gonna flip messages on. I think we're good here. Yeah, 2:36. This looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and launch a poll. I'm gonna set something up. So if people want to offer their chat and weigh in, we can do that. And yeah, more or less, I'm excited today to hopefully spit something at you, a little clever, something a little interesting. Yeah, and we're gonna spend some time hanging out. We're gonna spend some time talking, hopefully realizing stuff together, right? Not necessarily being in total opposition with one another. I don't know if you guys want to do that, but that would be cool to me. And so we have a lot more statements coming out from the federal administration. Both Greg Bavino, who in normal times really would be totally politically insignificant. He's supposed to be sort of a like an operation, sort of, actually managing ICE operations, sort of, whatever you might think, like mission control, making sure that things are being conducted based on the guidelines from Tom Homan, as well as the Trump administration there on down. He really shouldn't care what Donald Trump is doing at all, technically. And also providing sort of that ground level feedback, right? So Greg Bavino's technical job is also kind of getting that boots on the ground intel from his ICE or BP officers, Border Patrol officers, and providing feedback so they can make great decisions. Stop in and say hello. Whoops. Let me see. I'm going to pin this message. There we go. Yeah, and if you guys come on in, feel free to drop in and say hi. Do you believe there is... Do you guys know how to spell it? Does anyone know how to spell Minneapolis? I'm not really great at that kind of stuff. And I guess, I'm leaving a poll question. Maybe we can talk about this today. I honestly don't know. Normally, I would think that if we are seeing an unusual or sort of unexplained number of government shootings of civilians and citizens and stuff, I don't know. I had a little something in my beard. I would typically think, oh, hello. Hey, good to see you. I'm sorry, I don't speak. I don't know if that's Russian or Greek or something. I'm a little ignorant to that kind of stuff, so I don't know. But hello. Normally, I would think it's a priority that if we see an above average of government shootings where, it maybe is the case that someone's civil liberties or their life was taken away from them, that we would make this a political priority. Hey, Katrina, good to see you. Happy if you guys are in Europe or somewhere, Eurasia, someplace like that. Hello, good to see you as well. My name's Nathan. I go by Duck Online, and I believe maybe it's late Sunday or Monday for you guys. And so, hello. Hey, what's up, Bad Eye Crazy? Good to see you again. And so a great starting point is, well, instead of maybe getting into an argument with all chat all at once. If more people trickle in today or something like that, just discussing and trying to understand, is this something we focus on when we see someone's life being taken away from them? Ask where justice lives in the situation. Is this a priority? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe there's something else that, we kind of got to work through first. But that's why I wanted to leave that poll, is because it's a great starting point. It seems like anyone in the United States, irrespective of your faith, religion, your tradition, you could sort of technically try to understand, is it the case that the Trump administration is really putting their best foot forward on this? I don't believe they are. I saw Kristi Noem, what seems like lying about democratically elected politicians with no evidence. It seemed like Greg Bavino, this guy who's a nobody, came across and was talking about some stuff that maybe he's not really privy to, he doesn't technically know about. And so these are all cases where I personally feel like a little bit, whatever it is, a little off put by this. I don't believe there's fairness or transparency. And yeah. And so this is nuts. One of the other things we're seeing is the Trump administration is telling us now that Cuba is next. He's telling us that Greenland is next. Donald Trump has said Iran is next. He said Colombia is next. Trump is destined for hell. Who wants to follow? Wow. Hey, amazing Jacob. Good to see you. Yeah. And Donald Trump has given that sort of evangelical spirit a little bit towards his voters and stuff. He has asked people to not just wear their sort of discontent with the MAGA administration on the outside, but Trump has also asked that, we should be giving guns and firearms to people in positions of power and not be asking more questions about accountability. To me, this is a huge distraction. It's not only bad, it's not only the case that we've seen people like Alex Preddy and Renee Good lose their life. It's also the case that there's perhaps issues around the country that maybe we're not going to solve these today or tomorrow. But as someone who supports the democratic process, I might see these as things that, it's the case that you should have good people, compassionate people in positions of power, and they should be steering our country in the right direction. Americans love guns too much. Hey, Mudbutters22. Yeah, I don't talk about this that often, but I had an acquaintance, a friend who got killed in a mass shooting in the United States while I was in college. He was also in college. He was a year older than me. He flew back out to Arizona in the Southwest US where I am, and we got a beer together. And this is not the right time, but he was killed in the Aurora, Colorado shooting. And so for me, gun control is maybe a bigger issue than with other people. I've been affected by mass shootings, by gun violence. And I know people whose life was completely upturned, who have this insufferable tragedy, life-changing event that occurred to them. The guy I was getting a beer and a pizza with, 6 months later, I get a text, and learn this guy's gotten shot. And, it's just wild. The guy that shot him, was a diagnosed, narcissistic, psychopathic schizophrenic. And so the fact that this genius guy who ends up shooting him, to me also doesn't have a semblance of justice about how we didn't take care of him in our society. And this led to my friend dying. And not only this, but our society tells him you can own a high capacity firearm, tactical grenades, all this kind of weird stuff. I don't want to get into it that much, so please help me out with that. But so gun violence to me is huge, and I don't think it's any better. I think we have to have trust, faith, as well as reciprocity for law enforcement officials who do take on that responsibility of being armed, probably armed every day, and go out and put themselves in harm's way in dangerous situations. We should take it seriously, and that's all the more reason why Kristi Noem and Bovino are pretty off. Hey, sorry, chat. I was just talking for a second there. But hi, Ralph. Good to see you. Please watch Daniel Star Ending MAGA. Hey, Ralph Perry. I don't know who that is. I don't have a Discord for links like that. But I will keep it in mind if it comes up on the algorithm. Hey, Aaron. Good to see you again. Happy Sunday. FF Sleepy. Laws are only unfair for criminals. Yeah, the law. I would encourage you to see it as a process, Sleepy. We know that someone chooses to commit a crime, and there's usually an explanation for why that is. And so we might say that we live in a society that's imperfect, but it's also true that that I would hope that if it was your son or daughter, we don't stop there. We work a little bit harder. We go a little further. We push a little harder. And that usually means that, there's accountability for judges. Yeah, there's accountability for law enforcement officers. Yeah, there's accountability for politicians. And we don't pretend like there's one like super villain, in the case at all. you know? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. You can literally be the worst person on earth. And I still think our society has something to offer you. And, and I don't have a misconception that a judge or a cop is a horrible person. But I also think that they can make mistakes like anyone else. And, if anyone takes that seriously, like the video, subscribe. That's kind of what I'm about. I talk about that kind of stuff. Do you want to play Among Us with me? Hey, Selton Puck. I used to play the Among Us maps on Risk Global Domination. So I would play some imposter games with friends on Discord. I like that competition stuff, the strategy stuff a little bit. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. We can play Among Us. I'm lonely Mr. Beard guy. Cool. Hey, I also have a beard. I'm also a little bit lonely. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm not that big of a gamer. If you guys want to game sometime, who knows? Maybe in the future I'll set up a separate gaming channel on YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll kind of keep you guys in mind. Mass shootings are always someone on antidepressants, which has a side effect that leads to harming others. Yeah, Kool-Aid Jimmy, I think that's an anti-scientific idea. I think if we're looking at a cause of violence, I don't think being on an SSRI or something like that actually causes that. And yeah, people choose SSRIs for conspiracy theories. They echo a lot of times religious sentiment, which actually isn't meant to be about an SSRI, if we're being honest. And one of the reasons they do this is because we actually don't know how antidepressants work, but we're not the people that would ever say that. I don't know if anyone in chat is a medical doctor or prescribing Psych D, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I try to avoid that, is because you're kind of telling me I have to decide how, in this case, my friend, someone I actually know, was shot in a mass shooting, and I don't think that's actually true. So, we're talking politics, Hangout. I did do a poll, so thank you so much. We've had 34 people stop by and leave us their opinion, and 47% of you, about half and half right now. Half of you guys think there has been fairness handling the Minneapolis ICE shooting. I'd have to know how that is. Wow. And I don't mean to be, too political, but I've seen Kristi Noem go out front. And what Kristi Noem has put out front is that there's a conspiracy in Minneapolis. Kristi Noem said this next to Alex Preddy's name, that Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Waltz, these two putzes from Minneapolis, are somehow trying to overthrow the federal government. They're trying to hire assassins and sicarios to take out Border Patrol officers. So to me, that instantly disqualifies that there's fairness. That's one point I would make. Alex Preddy, his name is being mentioned next to conspiracy theories. That's pretty tough. ICE is killing people with guns, and that is called gun control. Hey, Ralph Perry. Yeah, thank you for that note. Responsibility all the way through, and ensuring that the people that do these jobs are psychologically fit and have that moral support network, as well as the professionalization of law enforcement. Lots of things. These are the types of topics Greg Bavino should actually be addressing. He's not an investigator. He shouldn't be addressing whether or not there's an impartial, independent investigation going on right now. And so I'd love to interview Greg Bavino for an hour and ask how it's going, how it's been going, how are officers responding to this aggressive mandate, what systems are in place that allow them to track down so many illegal aliens. And at the same time, are those same systems, are they set up to protect citizens? Or if not, what do we actually do? I'd love to hear Greg Bavino weigh in on something like that. But to hear him and Kristi Noem, who seem totally outside what Minnesota local law enforcement officials want to say to protect you, I'm a little afraid. I think I'm right to be afraid. How do I feel about Trump calling Alex Pettick and Renee Good leftist lunatic terrorists? Yeah. So Jamie, when I hear any rhetoric, I generally think it's unfounded, because Donald Trump, there is no evidence of this, and Greg Bavino himself has said that there's not an investigation. We don't know we've seen the video. It doesn't look like this is a guy with a manifesto. We don't know what a manifesto would be. And people sort of see the fact that a manifesto exists as it was relevant in this case. That's either true or false, right? And so I don't even think it's worth entertaining. I think it's dangerous to entertain these ideas without any information at all. That's the main point. And so to me, I think Christy Nome, I think they're starting to smell their own poop. You guys know it's getting good here, right? You guys know it's getting good. When evil comes for you, this is how some Americans think. When evil comes for you, it's often of your own doing, right? The living God, as an evangelical Christian might accept or agree, the living God doesn't make it so that you have to sin or make mistakes, or you're watching as Border Patrol agents and ICE agents go out and throw children to the ground, throw women to the ground, throw people they've never met in cages. And as an atheist, or as a secular person, as a former Catholic, as someone who loves social justice in the very traditional sense, I tend to agree. If you believe in God, God can forgive you for those things. Society, we have processes, and you're not going to get out of that, right? One way or another. So good question, Jamie. Hey, Ninja. Ninja. We've got some people cursing ICE, and they seem to be in the people who have maybe thought about this a little bit on both sides, we've got right now more than half of you say that there's not been fairness in handling this. I'd love to know for both sides, what do you think fairness is in investigating an ICE shooting? You're seeing people losing their life. There's people's civil rights being deprived. Is that justice? What do you need to know from Greg Bovino or Tom Homan for you to say, yeah, this is fairness? Do you know everything you need to know? Does the law apply to old men who assaulted little girls? The law, I think this is from the Zinc Roofer. The message got blocked by YouTube. The law does apply to everyone. And so, this is partially the case when we look at laws that are ensuring law enforcement officials have the correct guidance, even before they put a case in front of a judge, even before a prosecutor sees it. This is how the law works. This is what every lawyer for 300 years of American history should have told you, is that there's laws that protect people on both sides. And so a judge would look at someone who maybe skipped court for a DWI or something and say, well, should you have sent, 6 guys to go get into a high-speed chase amid political unrest to arrest this guy who has a DWI? And if someone gets hurt in that situation, how do you view that? That's a very rational, kind of cool-headed question. It's very calm to ask that question. And so if you're saying that there are people from other countries who assaulted little girls and this justifies ICE, I've seen the list. And I've also seen how ICE has gone out and conducted their business. And it's never okay. I don't think I have not heard a Democrat who thinks someone who hits their girlfriend and then ends up skipping court or skips their domestic violence classes and ends up back in front of the judge and skips that or something. I don't think anyone thinks this person gets out of it. I think everyone still does agree that they have due process. And so I hope that wasn't a leading question. Again, I hope it was kind of cool, calm, collected. Ninja Racist says F ICE, F Trump. So I agree with both. Sorry, guys in chat. I'm taking some time on these messages. Hopefully this is okay. I'll get around to what you guys are saying and I can skip down. Do tag me at DuxY if you want or need me to read something. I'll make sure I read it then. WSG. I don't know what that means. WSG Unk. I don't know what that means at all. UNC. I don't know what that means. Sorry. It's shown that one of the officers took his gun away with him when he was getting beaten off the ground. Hope this helps. I've seen the video. Yeah, I have seen the live video. I'm not that confused about this. My job, I am not so hopefully this helps as well. I am not a judge. I am not a state prosecutor. I'm also not internal affairs. As a private citizen, I think that video was breathtaking. It was confusing. It also wasn't that confusing. I would imagine that we've seen far less sort of ambiguous videos about what happens, where we see a full investigation. We feel confident it's going to the right body. And in those cases, we don't see federal authorities who are supposed to be leaders, supposed to instill a sense of confidence and calm, actually providing a greater sense of safety about the community. These are all things we normally see. And to me, that's what I look for as well. I look to see whether or not Alex is going to have justice. I also look to see whether or not I believe that the Trump administration actually cares about justice, whether Kristi Noem does. And again, I've mentioned this. Greg Bovino, he's not an investigator. He's not with internal affairs. He's, as far as I know, he's not an elected official. And so I don't know why he's taking such a profound role, why he's taking interviews with CNN, and why he's going on TV. And what I see as telling me my eyes deceived me, it's not that I'm not that committed to what I saw, but I know enough that I know what I saw. So, yeah, from Paris. Yeah, from Paris and from the rafters, justice comes first, rights come first. And ensuring that our political priorities are aligned. They're aligned on topics like social justice, like solving poverty, and like supporting law enforcement officials in the right way. It's not supporting law enforcement officials to say that Kristi Noem and Bovino represent officers doing the work day to day. And it's also pretty shameful, I would say. If I was running as a Republican for an office, I would say it's shameful how these ICE officials who, again, not supposed to be involved, are pulling the focus onto these inept sort of dunce politicians in Minneapolis who truly are just sort of wondering, like, well, Minneapolis isn't super like in the national hot seat that often. And suddenly these are woke Marxist revolutionaries to them. There's zero evidence of that. There's also zero evidence that this administration is pursuing justice in these two shootings. When the NRA cries about this shooting, Trump might have some fun changing his own diapers. Yeah, special interests like the NRA, they capitalize on a lot of these stories that we hear that will happen in a society with 350 million people, if you want to talk about 2A and gun control and 2A. And to me, the NRA, they want to, one of their goals is to represent firearm owners in basically all stages of their life, all facets of their life. And I think that's fine. But I also think that in good faith, they should appreciate that the totality of a person's political opinion takes into account very normal circumstance in our society. Right? For me, it's not that I have some woke or Hegelian view of firearms. It's probably closer to the opposite of what I think a firearm is, and when you use it, when you have one, why you have one, and what you think about when you have one. And I can know all that and say, well, these by far are creating more risk, and a defense of tyranny takes far less than what you think it does. And so I'm absolutely, I can see some more center positions on the NRA and firearms, and I can also disagree with them. I can also say, yeah, there should be political opposition, and there should be conversations, not just in Washington, but in your locality, about the deleterious effects of lying to people that firearms aren't dangerous. Like, what are you actually talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean they're not actually dangerous? You don't know what you're doing. USA's Russia 2.0 and Iran 2.0. This is the opposite. Donald Trump has, he said Cuba's next. He said Venezuela's next, and he went and did it. He said Iran's next. He said Colombia's next. And then he said Greenland is next. You should be afraid. This is a president without a plan. He's mischaracterized Russia as a deal-making company that has some liberal intention long into the future. And yeah, the US just isn't part of that conversation or negotiation. Russia is by far closer to the Eurasian bloc. They're not going to be a great partner to IMF. They're in BRICS. And Iran, from a neo-Hobbesian point of view, has resource crises. They have out of control inflation, and their government sucks. They have incredibly high taxes in a state that's already very poor. And so while the U.S. Shouldn't endorse regimes that are violating human rights, and from time to time, I do believe there's political action that is possible. We should look at leaders like Vladimir Putin and say, well, yeah, this guy can be a little villainous from time to time. And this doesn't involve American taxpayers. This doesn't involve your family's future. This doesn't involve the ultimate role of the United States in international affairs. Instead, Donald Trump, again, points fingers and says, you're next, buddy. The U.S. isn't a bully. We're not supposed to be a bully. And we should distance ourselves from the times in the past where we've actually been bullies. Everyone can agree on that. The pro-ICE and pro-MAGA commentators are mostly foreign trolls and bots. I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of people who don't care about their own civil liberties. I've seen on Fox News, unless I'm getting deep state clips or some, I was kidding, by the way, but unless I've gotten deep state clips, I've seen a lot of these commentators who seem to endorse and believe the idea that violence is justified, that you can have extrajudicial killings, and that somehow this isn't bad for our democracy. Absolutely absurd. Hey, Jamie again says, when I'm in a gaslighting competition and my opponent is a Mar-a-Lago face Kristi Noem. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She's very brutal in that case, And so if these officials, if you end up in a federal administration, your job is to stand up to scrutiny. It's also to find the deal makers and the friends, right? If that's Donald Trump's language, I can play that a little bit if he's doing the right thing and means it. But Kristi Noem has not tried to find her friends. Her and Donald Trump ran on this platform. They campaigned on this platform that these are violent leftists, right? She said that if you're one of these people that goes on Discord and says racial slurs and you think it's funny or informative, you vote for MAGA, you vote for Donald Trump. I forgive you, brother, but God still has different ideas about what justice is. And you might not accept that, but that's what reality is like. And so if you want to escape that version of reality, I'm so sorry, you're not going to do that. Get it? Noam lies like Trump does. I'm just assuming, Ralph, that's a typo, that you meant Kristi Noem lies like Trump does, because there's another typo in there as well. And not Trump dies. But again, there's two spelling errors in there. And so, Ralph, I'm just going to assume, yeah, they do. I without even reading your message, I just said that same thing. There is no deep state. It's not that I am Big Brother telling you there's no deep state. There is no deep state. There never was a deep state. And so when you're a woke MAGA revolutionary and you're viewing yourself as an agent that is deconstructing the deep state, well, when you realize there's no deep state, then suddenly you're supporting Charlie Kirk, and the Democrats plan to assassinate Charlie Kirk. And when that doesn't pan out, you just pretend like it didn't exist. And your next battle is, I'm going to support Greg Bovino, who's not elected and somehow is telling people about what elected officials should say and do, lying to you. And so the Trump administration and his friends are people who lie to him. Donald Trump would lie to sell you a handkerchief or a necktie. Donald Trump would lie to you to sell you a watch. He would lie to you to put a better loaf of bread on the menu at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump would lie to you to accomplish small things. Of course, he lies to you about big things. Of course, the world that he tells you exists doesn't exist outside your front door. It doesn't exist at all. And when you realize what world actually does exist, it's not Trump's. And there's no more profound truth in that. Exactly like it looks. A liar tells you lies. This guy's lying to you. Noam lies. Ice Ice Baby. Justice for Alex Predick. Bovino is a petite Nazi. Aaron. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities, in not the people. So separate the psychology, but the tactics used. And so the Nazis under Adolf Hitler did what was called a lightning war. You would call it a blitzkrieg or a lightning war. And you would basically try and say, well, we're going to overwhelm you and we're going to win quickly. And the Nazis thought they were doing this for the entire 1930s, realistically, and 1940s. And it was never the case. So the Nazis always had very loose control on territory for most of the time. Air superiority was short-lived and incredibly resource and energy dependent. And so anytime the Nazis had gains, it basically gave the Allied forces another target to attack. And so people who would say that, well, Adolf Hitler really loved the German people, he was a nationalist, that's not actually true. What Adolf Hitler actually loved was himself. Adolf Hitler loved the appearance of power, and he loved the excitement and actions of power. He loved hatred. He loved the thought of winning. He loved the feeling of winning. And he loved his sort of made up, almost mythological or religious view of what he thought Germany was going to be. And it's just ironic because don't we see the similarity? Donald Trump says MAGA is going to rip out the deep state first, and then it's going to make America truly great again. Not like the last time, but this time it's going to be truly great. And what ends up happening is we see poverty, we see local politics that are really drastic, failing utility companies, failing education systems. We see maybe unemployment numbers that are not correlated to any of Trump's actions, but we're seeing a rise in homelessness, or the effects of homelessness are getting worse. So we see all this stuff, and at the same time, Donald Trump is saying we're going to go to Cuba next. We're going to go to Iran next. We're going to build condominiums in Palestine. We're going to give the Palestinian people the perfect life that, as far as I'm aware, they never asked for. And so he's not being charitable. There isn't any sort of sense of goodwill, which is very important, a goodwill. And so in terms of like comparing this to the outcomes or what you actually would go see with this Nazi regime, is every sort of claimed victory brought on more problems. So every time Donald Trump wins by putting one of his cronies in an administrative position, this pulls attention away from other issues. He's not responsible. He's not an adult. He's infantilistic. And there isn't, I think what most people have come to realize is there is not a great intelligence living under the hood. He is a guy that lies and tricks people. A con man base. Yeah, you can put a con man in any building in the world. A con man will sell you a Honda Accord. They'll sell you a Ferrari. A con man will sell you a small house, like a trailer. They'll also sell you a big house. And a con man can tell you they're building a construction company. A con man can also tell you they're building an immigration authority. Waltz is killing people by encouraging rioting. So Nugent, this isn't even, I'm going to go down on comments. Hello, everyone. I see Zinkrufer again, so hello. And I'll go down and say hi. Thank you to the 112 people who have stopped by, and I'll review the poll results as I see them on my side in just a second here. And so Waltz saying that Waltz is killing people isn't what Kristi Noem said. Kristi Noem seemed to imply that there's a conspiracy. Waltz is, again, a bit of a dunce. He's a bit of... I don't think he's stupid, but he's a guy that retired from the military and said, yeah, I'm going to go work in schools. I'm going to go work in education, and I'm going to go do politics in Minneapolis. And yeah, he's very capable. He's a governor. Jacob Mayer Frey, again, mayor of the biggest city in Minneapolis. So big deal. But he's not Zohran Mamdani either, right? It's not New York City, it's Minneapolis. And so to suggest that these guys are killing people by encouraging rioting doesn't actually show who they are and what they're doing. You have to have both those ideas in your head. So I disagree, Nugent. And the fact that Kristi Noem has implied that there's ideological conspiracy shows that MAGA, to me, are these woke left revolutionaries, right? Are they left? Are they right? Are they collectivist? Are you a collectivist? When you see someone from MAGA, do you see yourself as alongside them? I'm sorry, I don't know. You are being acclimated to the idea of living in a military state. No, I'm not. I don't think Trump is that competent. I didn't think Adolf Hitler was that competent. So congratulations. When you see bad strategy and you pull back and you actually understand the people that are conducting the strategy, no, Donald Trump is not Adolf Hitler, right? He doesn't harbor genocidal beliefs, but he is incredibly xenophobic. He's also very prone to putting only people in office that support his point of view. And so he's an ideologue. He's a autodidactic ideologue. He learned all by himself how to do this. Hey, Josh, good to see you. Renee traveled out of her way to, sorry. And the reason people are doing drugs when they're homeless is because they have finally given up from the struggle. I mean, that's a crass generalization of homelessness. I think to say that homeless people do drugs and then not mention that they're maybe concomitant at the same time mental illness. So you have addiction and mental illness, both operating. Again, I'd hope if this was your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, aunt, sister, cousin, coworker, you'd have a little more compassion, or just stay away from it. Say, hey, this isn't, I know what the world gives you. I'm a wrestler a little bit. I got to battle the really hard stuff, in my day to day. But if it's a little too heavy for me to understand addiction and mental illness, but I want to talk about homelessness, I'm gonna focus on a different aspect of it. Maybe I'll go to the economy. Maybe I'll do all these things. Maybe I'll focus on myself, focus on my own diet, my own sort of humility and gratitude, and then I'll come back to it, right? But to say that homeless people are drug addicts, that's very discompassionate is what that looks like to me. So, hey, Timothy Gibson, it's not hard, lazy and comfy, yes, but not hard. A lot of justice and society oriented stuff is hard. It's hard because, you have to choose to do the hard thing, right? It wouldn't be hard for Kristi Noem and Greg Bavino to just come out and say, we are going to share files with local law enforcement, but they have agreed that federal agencies are conducting an investigation, or they explain to you how the law is supposed to work. If it's possible a crime was committed in Minneapolis and they have jurisdiction and it seems like they should have the investigation for homicide or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's homicide or something else, you guys would admit that most of the time, right? And so, it's not hard for them to tell the truth. It is hard for you to keep lying to MAGA and keep them in your little sort of corral, right? I don't know. How else am I supposed to say it? It's not my job to uncover how you guys view that issue particularly. Shadowwetter is just a liar. Hey, Shadowwetter, let's see. I want to check this one out if I can. Been homeless, not hard nor hard to get out of, get to work. Hopefully that's great. When I've in the US, I know enough to know that when you see someone who's homeless, hopefully they have maybe some SNAP benefits, or something like that. If they've got a way to get around and they're comfortable and confident to do that, they're getting used to that. And then, some people can find that apartment, they can find that part-time job while they're either going to work out of a shelter. And and so I have a ton of compassion. Hopefully anyone who's in that situation, you at least feel like you have support, you feel like you got a little love. And if that is your next step is, whatever it is, get that job or that apartment. I don't totally get it, but I do totally get it, get to work and all that stuff. So all love, hopefully I could say. It varies wildly on ease, each person to person. That's also true. That's maybe a better way to say it is, don't say that all homeless people are, just like we wouldn't say all illegal aliens are drug addict, drunk driving, spousal abusing, thieving, murderers or something. We also wouldn't say all homeless. We also wouldn't say all homeless people are homeless drug addicts. All homeless people are drug addicts. You don't say that because it's also not true, right? So you have two reasons. You don't say it because it's really discompassionate. It stops your understanding. Sorry. It's also just not true, right? And so you don't need to be that person making that wrong mistake. If you can be the person clarifying mistakes, that's probably better. You can also be the person who votes. If you're in the US and you're a voter, and you're interested in this stuff, or you guys, you maybe see Piers Morgan, you see some of the online debates and stuff. You can also be the person who says, I'm just going to be in the audience at least, while I'm doing this. I'm going to cheer for the person who's more compassionate. I'm actually going to vote for the good guy this time. Last time I voted for the bad guy. This time I'm going to vote for the good guy. It varies why. I read that one. Minnesota officials are to blame, period. Yeah, they've been so left out in the dark. So that would be my main response to that. 25. If you're curious what I think about that, Greg Bavino is not elected. He's appointed, and he's dealing with political issues that really should be coming from Kristi Noem or Tom Homan. Both of them, and Donald Trump even. I think all three of them are too spineless to address things head on and to address the actual facts in the world. And the fact that that's uncomfortable for people that I believe that, or that other people believe that, that's your problem. If you're an elected official and you're seeing your administration for whatever circumstance shooting people, oh my gosh, what do you say? Is it, and so, this isn't the time, I don't think, to put like celebrities like Jacob Frey out front, celebrities like AOC or Bernie Sanders out front, because these are common sense sort of seemings. It doesn't matter the case why it is that ICE is shooting people. If ICE is shooting people, you have to conduct an investigation. You have to be transparent about how internal affairs works. Be transparent about the processes ICE is following, right? Go do the redneck stuff. I mean it. Like, if that is how you can handle this and be honest, go do the redneck stuff. But Kristi Noem, she's not doing the redneck stuff. Yeehaw, buckaroo. You'd be surprised as a progressive Democratic voter, you'd be surprised how accommodating I can be to the redneck stuff. If you're being honest and you're thinking about justice, I will go out and I will work for you even if I disagree, because I will work for our democracy. But when you say that these people that maybe lost their lives deserved it, and I didn't see it in the video, and I don't think you have any justification for that belief, I don't think that's what the world is like, you're not going to fool me. And so Minnesota officials are to blame. Where and why? Minnesota officials are being locked out. Minnesota officials only want the truth to come out. Minnesota officials only want their issues to be handled properly locally, and they only want their issues to receive the same attention any politician would federally. And so, like, honestly, this is when you get to the point where it's like, this is so incorrect, someone's going to say, go F yourself. Go F yourself. This is why, right? Because in politics, I'm not saying that I want to use force to do anything. I'm saying in a democracy, we are allowed to be upset and we're allowed to voice our opinions forcefully. You are not doing the redneck stuff. You're not responding to the levers of justice. You're not responding to the levers of a democracy. And boy, you know what? You want to make me think like that. I'm not like that. I was a former tech bro. I was a former bookworm. I'm a nerd. I'm a philosopher. Like, I'm not like some non-normie philosopher. I'm a philosopher. I don't care. I don't want to hear any of this nonsense that it's someone else's problem. If it is your job, you have responsibility and you solve it. That is what the world is like. The world has consequences. When you put your pistol on a civilian and you shoot him in the head, there's an investigation. God will forgive you. The courts will forgive you, but there's an investigation and you got to go ask. Hate to break it to you, buddy. So then how do you feel about the scandals revealed by the Trump administration? Yeah, Joshua, so if you're talking about corruption and fraud, it's unacceptable, right? It's unacceptable, but that is not, like, I don't see how you say, and so how then do you feel about that, right? So the fact that you have what is in the cosmic scale of the universe is a fraud case that is like literally the size of Cuba's GDP. It is so small. It is so small. It is not related to the fact that Donald Trump wants a $100 billion ICE budget in the next 10 years. He wants to 10x the budget. And this is while ICE is arresting women and children, abusing them, throwing them to the ground, running over kids at bus stops, and shooting people in the side of the head and not investigating it. So fraud, bad bureaucracy, right? Super simple, bad bureaucracy. Take that up to the Congress when you need to, right? Take that up to the Congress when you need to. I don't know of any Democrats who don't think you investigate fraud. Who set up the program? Who set up the overview, the audit, stuff like that? Were these elected officials? If they were elected officials, why did it go so poorly? And so it's insane. It's insane that you put this in the same camp as someone getting shot. And yeah. Minnesota officials are a blessing. Thank you, SAT Mexico 4T. Viva la Mexico. Viva la United States. Estados Unidos. We are all together. You can be conservative. You can be Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Libertarian. I don't care. I know about all those. I care about justice. I'm a progressive Democrat who cares about justice, and I care about you. I'm just a guy, right? I'm just a guy you'd meet on the streets, and there's enough of us. There is enough of the good stuff that we can amplify those voices that have said abolish ICE, and we can also amplify those voices that say stand up in reality for law enforcement officials. We can do both. We can do both. It's the time for us to be smarter and more steadfast and more peaceful than we've ever been. And I believe that. I believe that justice has been the only thing that's kept the United States together for 300 years. And anytime you think that's not true, I guarantee you're going to have your mind changed. If you actually care about it, whether you think on it, you study it, or you pray on it, I don't care what your mode of understanding is. Justice is what keeps us together. And justice is what allows us to solve problems into the future. It's always going to be that way, guys. Read a book, right? When if you are a religious person, say a prayer and actually mean it. Go be that person. Go be Gnostic about it. I don't care. I'm a secular atheist. I might be debating you about God one day, but we all uncover this stuff when we need to, when it's our time. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for who's leaving comments. Optimistic, taco trucks. Complacency is the root of homelessness. That's just not true. This is why I'm skipping down, guys. Please don't say all homelessness, all homeless people, all that kind of stuff, guys. You guys can do better. I believe in you. Just one duck. Hey, Cafe's in chat. Thank you. He knows what's good. If you guys want to know how much of a celebrity I am, I do have memes about me on other YouTube channels. Do like and subscribe. I was just messing with you guys. I'm not really famous. I try to not have an ego and stuff like that. But yeah, I do have some memes going around on other YouTube channels and stuff. Like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in your shorts feed and stuff when I do, when I put stuff out and on these lives. How do you feel about all these scandals coming to light recently? I think you asked that and I answer that. What do you mean? Do I booger sugar boogie? I don't know what that is. I actually don't know what that means. Why is it useful? Nobody knows. Thank God America is rotting. Hey, Mohammed, good to see you. Yeah, I do believe that there's a lot of indicators that were published by CNN Fareed Zakaria that the United States is suffering competitively. We're seeing an increase in Sino-Eurasian trade, so Chinese politics, European politics, BRICS politics. These are all on the rise. There's also a lot of people who don't support African states or like the African Union, and maybe don't have a lot of vested interests, but generally oppose some of the geopolitical leanings coming from, I know it's difficult, coming from Arab states. And they're still seeing Donald Trump try to take over Palestine. They're trying to see Donald Trump sink his teeth further into Qatar, into Sudan, instead of addressing actual political issues and solvable problems that are really grave, costing people their lives every day. And so I want to see America be successful, and I want to see us succeed. The path that Trump's leading us down, when he tells us Cuba's next, when he tells us that Colombia's next, that Venezuela's next, it's not informing the American people of how the world actually works and when. And so there's no need to endorse governments and states that violate the civil rights, the civil liberties, and human rights in general. There's also no need to be punitive and to disengage from diplomatic discourse when the world is just going to be adults otherwise. So we can say more on that later. That's a full conversation unto itself. But yeah, absolutely. I hope to be a voice for people in the world most affected by sustainability crises, resource crises, and poverty. These are all issues that shouldn't be about security, about truly 20-year-old fighter jets is what we're going to argue about in this case. You can explain that to people better, and you have to be a voice of understanding for these. If that's your job in society, like Donald Trump's job is supposed to be, guys, come on. We need to take the rainbow back. Yeah, Joseph's multicolored coat for my evangelicals. Some people believe that maybe God has given people armor on earth. I'm a secular atheist, and I think you can just make enough mistakes or do enough good things that, at some point people are going to see your humanity for what it is. And that's just that, So what about before that? Well, and let me ask this, we've had 150 votes now. 40 4% of you guys think that there was fairness in the handling so far of the Minneapolis ICE shootings. I'd love to know what fairness means to you. And 56 have said no. Do you feel your bodily safety would be intact in Minneapolis? Do you guys, in reality, do you guys feel that illegal immigration is causing a risk or a threat to your privacy? If Donald Trump talks about expanding ICE funding, what is he actually telling you? Is he telling you something that doesn't exist in the world, something that's not true? I don't know of anyone who thinks that illegal immigrants are causing them a risk or a threat. It's absolutely absurd. Either it is or it isn't, right? I'm not a genius. I'm also not an idiot. I'm not a stupid man. I am a simple man. I think it's exactly like it looks. Donald Trump lied about a deep state. He lied to you about not supporting racists and the Proud Boys and all these other little white supremacist groups. And guess what time it is, folks? Do you know what time it is right now? It's time to move along, right? He doesn't tell you that the kitchen's out of food. Donald Trump tells you it's time to move along. We opened a new kitchen. Walk another 2 blocks. Walk another 4 blocks. Oh, yeah. We gonna have some more fun now, he tells you. Oh, yeah. We gonna have some fun with these MAGA boys, he says. Yep. I feel bad. I feel bad we can't have an honest conversation. And I hope you're happy. And I hope that you appreciate that there are people suffering because of these inconsistent, incoherent beliefs. There is not a money tree that Donald Trump has pulled from. We are seeing people suffer around the country because Donald Trump wants to tell you, focus on another conspiracy theory out of scary baby-faced Jacob Frey in Minneapolis. You're supposed to look crazy when you say how crazy this Trump administration is. No, it is absolutely insane. It's been that way. Hate to break it to you. Left supremely invading churches. Lan Wu, using hyperbole, there was a protest at a church that was selected because someone had been very public about their role in the ICE administration while there were ongoing protests. So I don't think you have, I honestly, if you have something else to add, I don't think you do have anything else to add there. If you have something else to add, feel free to speak up. You're a communist. I just did a video. Thank you guys. Yeah, if you guys want to subscribe, I just did a video on Che Guevara. I talked about how the Argentinian doctor actually was a mass murderer. So I don't know if you're actually American, but I don't consider myself a Marxist. I recommend people read Marxist philosophy, not his ideology. And we can talk about that again some other time. I'm truly scared for our country. So many people willing to give up their rights and lick boot lickers. Yeah, that's one narrative, right? El Capitan Games. That is one narrative, right? And so, yeah, go for it. Whatever you guys want to do. Found billions in fraud from the Somali community. That's just racism. They deserve that money. LMAO. Yeah, bureaucracy should work effectively. If part of what a bureaucracy does is distribute government funds, it should do so in according to the way the law was written. And that should include oversight and protections. And so the fact that fraud happened before it was caught, I don't believe impacts the veracity of the policy. And that's it. Ronan, there is video. We know what actually happened. Yeah, I hope we don't have to spend. I hope I don't have to spend my own time pretending that I have all the tools that an independent investigative body actually would have. I hope I don't have to spend my time pretending I know what internal affairs and the people that oversee operations can say about the procedures and protocols that both caused and would have prevented this, as well as which maybe performed as they were supposed to in this situation. And so I saw a video where a guy got shot. First time I saw it, I didn't know he was a licensed firearm owner. I didn't know that he was carrying a gun at that time. And I typically, in any situation, don't ask why someone is carrying a gun. I don't ask if they have a license or not. And yeah, I do think personally as a Democrat, I do believe that you should have a license to have a firearm. And I don't believe there's a great reason to own assault weapons that often, right? In almost no cases. So there you guys go. What are you going to rob a bank? What are you going to do? I've never seen Ben Affleck. I've never seen Ben Affleck, break in with his Boston buddies while I'm getting a taco. I've never seen four guys come in with sawn-offs. And I personally don't in that situation. Like more often than not, those videos to me look like murder. That's just my leanings. I don't think that's soy actually, but whatever you guys want to say about it, it's cool. It's very cool. I think you get weaker as a person if you start thinking that guns are a solution to problems, that violence is a solution to problems. If you want to bring identity and masculinity into it, it turns out, so there's two things I'd say. First, the first thing I'd say is I'm smart enough to know that I would never fuck with either Jocko or David Goggins, right? If I wasn't friends with them, if I didn't know them, I wouldn't mess with them. And it's because I know that those guys are savage. I know those guys are savage. I know I'm not that type of savage. Secondly, the thing I would never do is believe that most people just wake up and it's Jocko getting a taco, right? That's how I say this. Is Jocko getting a taco? Is that David Goggins getting a taco? No, it isn't. It turns out, like, because I've met you. I've probably realistically, I've probably gone and done two-way stuff with you, right? We've probably gone and shot airsoft together. I know who you are. There's not that many people in the world. And so it turns out that there's not that much artistry in people. If you own a firearm, it's exactly like it looks like, right? You made the choice, you want self-defense, and you're willing to go shoot someone. So there you guys go. If you actually looked into it, you would find it, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. I'm honest, blah, blah, blah. He was looking for trouble and he found it. So that says nothing about an extrajudicial killing, right? It's not a trampoline park. If that was your kid, if it was a 17-year-old, if it was a 15-year-old girl, you wouldn't say he was looking for trouble and he found it. That's not rational. It's not rational in any case. And there's probably more than one fallacy and bias in that analysis. I don't know what your actual political belief is, but I still, in either case, I disagree with that statement. I don't believe that orients anyone in the actual situation or circumstance where the shooting occurred. And it doesn't give the level of evidence or perhaps information that a person would need when they see someone's life being taken from them, when they were not the perpetrator, they were not the subject of this ICE investigation. And it isn't color by numbers. Greg Bavino, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, they do not need, no one operating in Minneapolis needs citizens to tell them how to do their job. And if you have to tell them how to do their job, in fact, that by definition defeats that they're doing their job in the first place. It means they're setting up a parallel agency. They're setting up a government besides a government. You're the expert. You are the bureaucrat. You are the law enforcement official. So you tell me if you're an administrator, what you administer. To say that, maybe it is the case. Donald Trump is scared of the big bad Democrats, or Donald Trump is proving a point about corruption in Minnesota. So you shoot someone, you order ICE agents to shoot someone, Donald? Is that what you do? That's not what I did. That isn't what I do. No, we want an independent investigation. We want the correct role for local law enforcement. I wouldn't feel safe with my family in that city as it sits. Honestly, could you imagine walking with your family to go to a thrift store, go get a coffee, and you see these ICE agents hurling around a corner? Oh, well. Thank you for clarifying your psychotic conspiracy theory. I was waiting for the psycho conspiracy theory to come out. What conspiracy theory? I think I was talking about, what was it? What were we talking about? The fact that Greg Bavino wasn't elected. And so my recommendation again to you would be Timothy Gestapo. Who said that? I would actually go out and recommend you look at how the government's supposed to work. If you don't have an opinion about that, then, well, what are you actually talking about, right? If you don't actually have a view about what a justified killing is, or if you can't just say outright that there's no such thing as a justified killing, and that justice has to live outside of that because it's violence against a person, maybe that's a good start. But if you want to get into the gaslighting, if you want to hop on to Kristi Noem's conspiracy theories or whatever it is, yeah, whatever does it for you, whatever gets you up in the morning and makes you excited to go out and support the Trump administration telling you we're going to take over a country, those are all good things, I guess. Those are all good things, I guess. Very competent, very useful, very confidence inspiring, maybe more than anything. MAGA cowards. Yeah, that's the only true one, right? MAGA cowards. They are the Gestapo. Did psycho, LOL. You called them a secret military, like a, no, saying that they set up an administration alongside the government. I don't know what you didn't understand about that, right? If your government's supposed to have checks and balances, what you didn't understand about that is in the same sense that you are probably upset about fraud in the daycare program, and you're curious about the statistics about what percentage came from the Somalian community or other areas, how it occurred, all these questions kind of living all at once, because you're not a xenophobe, you're not a racist, Timothy. You don't believe in extrajudicial killings or extrajudicial justice. You believe things should go through the processes we've established. And so when you give to me this term secret military that I didn't use, I don't know what you mean by it. I don't know what you said. I don't know what you said by that. So no proof equals conspiracy theory. Yeah, that's, well, a conspiracy theory. Yeah. And so here's what I also don't get is that, so if you're asking what seems more likely, so there's no conspiracy theory, but you ask, so you come around and you ask, well, Kristi Noem blames people for things that never happened. She's working with an administration which are habitual liars. They do have armed, the whole sort of idea or plan is to give people guns in positions of authority without checks and balances in place. When you ask where conspiracy theory lives, is it this babyface guy, Jacob Frey, or is it someone else? And so to me, I think the fact that you don't want to focus on the actual victims in society in this case, and instead you want to say, well, Democrats are conspiracy theorists. Well, work on that then. That's the argument you want to work on. Ask God for forgiveness. You made a word salad, my guy. Yeah, and so you're right, you win, I guess. I don't know what you want me to say back to that. If you believe I'm a conspiracy theorist, then yeah, that's fine. Go for it, right? Soy jacks when politicians are serial liars. Walt and his Somalian colleagues are going to prison. Yeah, and so with 180 people coming through chat today, we have 41% saying yes. So this seems to be going down. 41% of people say yes, there's fairness in handling of the Minnesota ICE shootings. Again, define fairness. What does that mean to you? And 59% say no. 59% say no. You literally flustered yourself saying absolutely nothing. I'm having a conversation with you, I think. I don't know what you want to talk about. If there's something else you'd want to talk about or discuss, feel free. But yeah, I don't believe I've supported a conspiracy theory. I think I've talked about other things today, but that's it. Yeah. So if you are trying, yeah, I don't know if you're trying to win or what you're trying to accomplish here. What are you going to say? Hello. Hey, Angelo. Hi. Good to see you, Angelo. Butt or boobs? Either, neither, both, whatever. Hey, Heeb Shlomo, we support ICE. Cool, good for you. Ice Ice Baby, Heeb Shlomo. Yeah, I mean, that seems very out of the zeitgeist. It seems very authoritarian to me, but whatever it is you wanted. He explained perfectly well. Hey, thanks. Why do you want to keep illegal so bad? Is it because you want cheap slave labor we can throw away since they don't have documents? Yeah, if you wanted to talk about this, where is this comment? So where did it go? Did it get deleted? It got deleted by, from a Brit's view, that guy was shot in cold blood. Ew, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, guys. I don't know where Tim's message went, if he got kicked off YouTube or what. There it is. Why do you want to keep illegals so bad? I don't know what an illegal is. You want to keep cheap slave labor. We can throw it away since they don't have documents. I don't know what this means. This seems like this is your own private personal psychology that's not actually talking about any systems. I don't know if that's right, but yeah, I would. So my suggestion to you would be, you're not going to come up with a coherent argument talking about illegals because an illegal doesn't exist, right? Someone maybe broke an immigration law. That was a point in time, an event. And yeah, I also think it's disingenuous, right? Because you came out trying to do gotcha questions, right? I don't do gotcha questions. I try to have conversations. And so nothing is going to take back the interview that Greg Bovino did with Dana Bash on CNN. Nothing is going to take back the press conference that Kristi Noem did. Nothing is going to take back the cell phone footage that happened. These were things that happened, right? They don't define what reality is, but they are in fact part of reality. And so if you want to talk about, if there's some issue that you want to talk about and you are unable to make it political or about society, well, whose problem is that in reality? And I have to ask, did we get it wrong when we didn't have these extreme polarized problems in society for so long? Did we get that wrong? I don't believe that's actually the case. I think we got most things right. And so when you're asking whether or not it's society or God that forgives you for holding these hateful, maybe homophobic, maybe xenophobic views, in my opinion, you have to ask yourself, either your society or God or yourself, for forgiveness for being wrong. And so if you want to act like a judge for me, okay, cool. Judge me then, Timothy Gibson, but be honest about what you want to do. If you want to judge me and say this guy's a conspiracy theorist, he's not trying to be truthful, and you want some standard, apply that standard to me the same as you would anyone else. You got it, buddy. You are the king of the world. You're the king of the chat right now. So be that person. Is he still here? Did you run? No, he's still here. White savior syndrome. Yeah, maybe. I see the gearing in your brain turning, trying to address the problem. To me, that's for you to do. I'm here to support you, as I'm not joking. I'm here to support you as you're going out and trying to correct maybe misconceptions you had, misinformation, whatever you need to do to get yourself ready to have a conversation with other people. I'm happy to help, but at this time, you're not able to do that. Right? I'm not banning you. I'm just saying I'm here to help you if Tim or whatever, if anyone here, if you guys don't have accurate information about the world, if you don't know your own deeply held political beliefs or opinions, you need anything else, please do let me know that, right? Let me know that. I'm happy to help, actually. So yeah. Our voter ID law is racist. Yeah, Tim, I'm just going to give you here. I'm going to tell you what, I'm not running, but because I think we established you don't have anything this second to say, so I'm just going to give you a quick 5-minute timeout and read some other comments. Thank you. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your skills with us. That was cool. I appreciate that. I don't think it's really that valuable in a political context, but I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Duck's opinion is just that. It's not based in facts. It's based in his personal feelings, most likely because his boyfriend isn't illegal. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong. If I had a gay Mexican boyfriend who's actually Mexican, I'd go down to Sinaloa. I don't know. You can go to the Pacific. You can go to the Gulf of Mexico. Technically, the Atlantic. It's no different. So whatever. Yeah, chat being faster. Yeah. Hey, sorry. Thank you. Truth Dems create this mess when Biden let millions of... I'm going to scroll up a little bit, guys. I'm not trying to skip anyone. You don't even know what you're trying to talk about. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, please let chat know and tag me at DucksY if you want me to discuss it. Because your term uses phobia, is he going to be that technical? Why is he not technical with the term homophobia, Rudolph? Yeah. I mean, if someone's offering opinions that are xenophobic, why wouldn't I just assume they might also be homophobic if they're saying things like all illegals, all anyone? I don't know. It's not my job, not my problem. When did Americans become so docile and scared? Always Trumpers. Yeah, when Donald Trump said that your actions create your philosophy, and this is very scary, most people can't confront it. And so he said, first you have to deconstruct the deep state. And to do this, you're going to go make friends with the white supremacists like the Proud Boys and Enrique Tarrio, these people convicted of insurrection. And then after you do this, you're going to go realize that there was no deep state. We didn't see it. There's no evidence of a deep state. And the next thing is you're going to go attack evil Kamala and the evil Democrats. And when you realize that Democrats are just people like you that would sit down and have a conversation with you, the next part of Trump's MAGA philosophy, which isn't a philosophy, is, well, now you go say that these are communists and there's a world plot against the United States. And you have to do Christian nationalism or otherwise be an American, right? And it's all very materialistic, narcissistic, selfish, and it's making you the political product where you stop asking whether or not this is bullshit. And instead of asking whether or not this is complete bullshit, you say, well, my actions become my philosophy, right? Is that right? I think it is, right? I think that is right. And so if you say, well, I want to live my entire life curious about what other people think about me, then you're allowed to do that. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. No problem. No problem. You know, you got me. As a Democrat, I've got nothing else to say back to that. And so America is scared because they believe their philosophy and actions are one thing. Heck yeah, Jay's speaking truth. What? Sunrider? Yeah, I would absolutely, a beginner mindset. Yeah, psychology is interesting. Philosophy is interesting. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Yeah, do you have an education? I did a video on highly intelligent people. So I consider myself an intelligent person. I don't consider myself a highly intelligent person. But I do consider myself educated in some things. I'm not highly educated, but I am educated. And so I absolutely think that if you didn't have the benefit of going to college, everyone who went to college still only studied one field. If you went to college, maybe you studied two different subjects, two different sort of domains is what they're called in science, in academia and science. And really science, it's a philosophical usage of what like your school is in college. So yeah, read 101 textbooks, find the core texts and the exciting ideas, and also maybe a little bit of history, a little kind of context. What's the circumstance or context in which something was written is something to eventually release? What's the core idea? These are all useful ideas. These are all useful ideas. We've got Matthew 25 something. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Truly, I see. No. Kodam's going to quote Matthew. I would highly recommend anyone who's going to try and do gospel stuff in politics is go read Mark. I'm not a Christian, but yeah, in Mark, Jesus Christ is positioned as a healer. He's discussed as someone who heals, who allows this sort of salvation-oriented or, whatever, it's not eschatological or something, without any exegesis. You can see it in the text. Jesus heals people. He's not making deals with them. He's not saying how bad they are. He's not telling you how bad the world is or how you deserved it. Jesus is just a healer in the book of Mark. And that's just not how the Bible actually is either. In any case, the Bible is actually also it is, for better or worse, a death cult, right? For better or worse, what the Bible is a death cult. And so act accordingly, right? Act accordingly, says evangelicals and atheists. Act accordingly. Oh my gosh, right? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Same thing. I don't care. Why the cat, people want to know? The hat or what? Not talking to you. You understand that Trump isn't an ally to whites, right? He's Jewish in everything he does. Or why? I don't know why you're quoting George Orwell. I believe the core thrust of Orwell is it's not actually like an understanding of power, but it is the theme of power. It's also the theme of technology in the future. It's the theme of evolution, maybe. And so I don't know why you're sharing highly racist, inaccurate ideas while you're going out and talking about Trump being whatever you mean by Jewish is and this is funny because if you think I don't know if you believe that, in which case I would ask how we can talk about that without me triggering you. But if you do mean it, or you think you don't mean it, and you think you're trolling and you're doing a service to people by showing them what you're doing here, I also don't believe that. Like that's not beneficial to say that. Well, I'm an Orwell fan and I can spout racist conspiracy theories whenever I want. Hey Anna, good to see you. Good to see you, Anna. I subscribed to your channel. Everyone say hi to Anna. She's a mod here. She's also got a YouTube channel. And yeah, I watched some of her live streams. So she's another kind of friendly face and person you can chat with. So go subscribe to Anna. Distraction from the fraud. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think if you're saying that ICE agent shooting someone is a distraction from the fraud, I would need a little bit more than that. Truthfully. So yeah, absolutely. And so responsibility, I think, would dictate that just seeing that you hire thousands of new ICE officers, this alone should probably increase the probability that someone's going to get hurt. And yeah, and so a very brutal but fair political question is asking Greg Bovino or Kristi Noem, are more Minnesotans going to get shot? Are more Minnesotans going to get hit by a car? Are more Minnesotans going to be run over or thrown on the ground or tased? We know there's going to be tear gas in crowds, but what comes next? What else should we expect to see? Should Minnesotans brace themselves for more extrajudicial violence against civilians? You should have an answer for that. And you should be able to truthfully answer that, right? You shouldn't have to go fishing. It's not like this is media training 101. It's not like you should be invoking conspiracy theories of Jacob Frey or whatever. It's just nonsense. Have you checked on the video Legal just made? Nope, I wouldn't. No, I don't know who that is. Legal, he's a lawyer. I don't really like lawyers that much. No offense. My friend, not my friend, but guys I know of like Pisco and like Ryan Mullally, they're bigger streamers. Ryan just did World War Debate. He's actually a smaller streamer than me, but they're both lawyers. So I have respect for sort of the dedication as well as the intellect, the hard work and intelligence it takes and perhaps a commitment to justice that a lawyer has to do. But I don't like legal thinking because it separates people so far and it positions people as winners and losers. That's just not that fair, right? It's not fair to do that. And why? And so I think it's great when people say that or do that, but I don't also think it's that true. Talking about the hat. This is from Goodwill. I've talked about the hat. I'm very, very broke right now. I like these foam front hats. If you guys want me to be super neurodivergent, I like these foam front hats with the snapback. I like hats. And so I'm wearing a hat. And there it is. There it is, folks. Your buddy duck is wearing a hat. Cool. So you don't like fairness. I want to know what people mean by fairness, especially if they believe that there's been fairness in the aftermath. It's not aftermath. It's not an ununderstandable or supernatural event. But when we see videos, cell phone cameras of Aaron, when we see these videos of what's it called? ICE shootings. And you know the face, you know the name. It's a US citizen getting shot by a law enforcement agency. To me, what I think you actually mean to ask is, what's my opinion of fairness? My opinion of fairness is it's something between what people think and what it is. So there you go. How's that for an answer? Something between what you guys think and what it actually is. I think that's a good answer. This is a random guy streaming with 20 people, 15 of which are transients. Cool. Thank you. Hey, Joel. I don't know how that's not an answer. Yeah, if you so here we can add some context and color to it. Do you guys want that? Type 1 in chat if you guys want more context to my answer on fairness. Type 1 in chat and I'll give you more context to my answer on fairness. Type 1 in chat. Type 1 on chat. Type 1 in chat and I'll give you more context to my answer on what is fairness. Type 1 in chat. Type 1 in chat and I will type 1 in chat and I'll give you more context to my answer on fairness. Yeah, I'm a runner. I like running. I don't mind hitting the pull-up bar with the guys. I don't mind hitting the pull-up bar with my bros. Brings us all together. It doesn't separate us. That's what most people miss. Us. Type 1 in chat. Type 1 in chat and I'll give you more information about my opinion on fairness. Look, and this is the funny part is, I don't know if Joel's still here. I don't know if I don't know if Aaron is still here. If Joel or Aaron are still here. Hey, Titan Brew, good to see you. I was being a little snarky, but I will talk a little about fairness. I think Aaron and Joel. There's Joel. It's an opinion or a definition. Give me a second, dude. Give me a second. Let me work. Yeah, let me work for a second. Who are you? Like, right? Who is that? Yeah, and so distributive justice theorists have talked about justice as fairness, but that's not often what's meant in sort of the common sense usage, the everyday usage of the word fairness. So I think a great start of what you actually see if there's fairness is that if there's a system of checks and balances established, maybe normatively called reciprocity, right? And so checks and balances basically means that you don't get to get away with everything. There's a person with more authority or more power than you. There's, which is basically it's oversight or transparency, or there's reciprocity, meaning that if you do good or bad things, both of those things are eventually seen and appreciated, and the system evolves for better or worse as a result. And so in terms of fairness, it should be the case. Also, I want to see what message my mod just deleted. Hey. I want to see this. You sick fuck. Okay, cool. I'm a sick. Hey, you're a sick guy. You're absolutely disgusting and nasty. I can't even stand it. Do you guys know what I mean by fairness? What is fairness? I want you guys to tell me what fairness is. You tell me what fairness is. Yeah. And so that seems like a reasonable start, that fairness in the Renee Good and Alex, what is it? Preki. Alex's shooting and Renee's shooting. Fairness would be if everyone understood whether local or federal authorities were investigating, if everyone believed that we'd eventually have answers, especially the Minneapolis community and Minnesota community, about the policies that worked and did not work in these cases, and you knew that these were conducted independently and ultimately got to a judge. and you just heard this too, and you also just heard this so you had faith and trust in the people, this would be what fairness looks like. This would be what fairness to me looks like. Fairness would also mean that if it is the case these were to go to trial and a state prosecutor ultimately says, yeah, fuck yeah, that's murder, right? Maybe they're like your old SEAL buddy or something, and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's murder. What murder is anytime you shoot someone, right? Even if you were justified, that's still murder. And so it's a court that tells you you were justified. You don't just get to decide you were justified. So so what isn't fairness? What isn't fairness to me is Greg Bovino comes out and he says, well, me and Kristi Noem seem to be deciding in both cases that this wasn't murder. This wasn't murder. It was a justified use of force. No, that isn't what you do in a society. That's not, you're neither of you are elected. The fact that Kristi Noem has a vote from Congress doesn't give her that type of authority, I don't believe. And if it does, well, then justice itself still has like more demands of what you must be like, right? If it's such a big deal that Congress approves this cabinet appointee, which has never been that big of a deal in U.S. history, it's crazy. We need the actual Gestapo. Yeah, maybe. There are many gods, many religions, each one claiming their God to be the only one. Propaganda only works on the stupid or very traumatized. There is no Gestapo. Cool. Yeah. All right. I see America haters in here. Yeah. Aaron, do you believe in so since you were asking me about fairness, do you believe in what's it called? Do you believe in nationalism? Or do you believe in exceptionalism? So if we were to talk about citizenship, you're a citizen, we don't observe it every day. But like, what exactly is citizenship then too? Is it citizenship? Most people in the United States do believe in citizenship. Did you watch the representative hearing where they laid out the fraud? I did not. Again, I haven't seen it laid out. I haven't seen what percentage of the fraud is from the community that they're representing, or how the fraud happened. And that's a separate question from how the fraud happened. What is the sum total of the world like for $100 billion to get stolen? And if this was a bureaucratic failing or what actually happened, how do you ultimately make sure this story gets the attention it deserves? And you also do so because this was an event in the world that happened. How do you also contextualize a fraud like this? I don't even actually know the actual number. I might not believe them pertaining to the actual number, because I'm not just going to believe made up nonsense. You are America hater. You wouldn't defend the terrorist ICE killed. Chris, I mean, good to see you, but that's I'll tell you what, I don't know when I'll see you next, but it's going to be at least 30 minutes from now. So good to see you as always, Chris, but I can't, if you're calling someone a terrorist that was murdered, even if it was justified murder, I don't want to see that. You don't have to listen to made up nonsense. You can watch the hearings. So Declan, you don't think it's a problem if I were to tell you, let's say I tell you, and you know who I am, and you say this duck guy is slightly educated. He's not like a genius. He's also slightly educated. And so I'm supposed to, I tell you that I have a little trouble with the Trump admin and so-called MAGA Republicans, because these were the same people that lied about the deep state. They lied about Jan 6, dude. No, but they lied to people. They basically told you to brainwash yourself. All these things. how would I actually? Hey, Team Yeshua, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm skeptical that an account that's titled Team Yeshua has the qualifications to talk about genetics or genomics, and so I can leave that there. I can leave that there. But yeah. So if you say there's a Trump hearing in Minnesota, I'm not going to, and I'm trying to explain myself to you wherever you are, and whatever you see wherever you are, whatever the world's like wherever you are. I would be deeply skeptical that MAGA Republicans conduct an investigation in a way that treats fraud in Minnesota like a bureaucratic failure or operates on that assumption and then can tell people where that's not true. So saying that it's fraud and people are doing it isn't the same thing as saying that, well, this is a bureaucratic failure. And we did find that there was, if they do find it and there's hard proof someone benefited or profited, and there is like one or two people involved in fraud. Other than that, like, treat it on the assumption it's a bureaucratic failure. Go ICE, they've been killing it lately. That's really bad. Wow, zigzag. Non-binary is an umbrella term for many different genders. Yeah, and can't we operate on the assumption that can we agree that there's a post-identity future somewhere? It's not the case that a group of friends in their 20s attending a sports game, that we decide we're going to go to the bar, we're going to go get some Zabro, we're going to go get some pizza, but they're not acting as males and females this entire time, right? No one says, "Hey man, let's go be a man." Why can't chicks be chicks and dudes be and fellas be fellas like they used to be? Can't a fella be a fella? Can't a chick be a chick? Just like we once was. No one invites their friends to hang out like that. And so if you're actually talking about science and you're talking about constructed notions of identity, that's cool. But you also will eventually bump into people that actually know what you're talking about. And yeah, maybe it's true that, who knows? You don't know if maybe I am a medical doctor. Maybe it's the case I'm a really good philosopher. Maybe it's the case I'm a politician and I know people's opinions really well. You don't actually know who I am, right? And so because we both know that people, fellas and chicks, don't just hang out and, whatever. I know that's not how it is. So he said that Christians can't know about genetics. Tilu, very great presumption there. Very great presumption there. Let's say it's the case you're a medical doctor. Can a man get pregnant? What? So how you ultimately piece together reality, I'm just guessing. Your piecing together of reality is that there are people in the world who say men get pregnant, and there are also people in the world who mean this in the sense that is logically impossible or that doesn't exist. So, and then again, there's something morally reprehensible about this to you or something. I don't totally get it. Easy answer. Easy question. So is this a gotcha? Is this a competition or something like that? Right. And so if you have ovaries and your body builds this little home womb thing, whatever, I'm not a woman, so I'm not a biological female, so I don't have that. I don't have those parts. But what if can I ask you this? Does every male chungus get you pregnant? Let's say maybe I have an identity about what a male actually is someone who not just gets someone pregnant, but men get chicks pregnant with really healthy, genetically apt and fit babies. And so what a man actually is someone who, I'm not saying be a Chad. I'm not saying to go be a bull or anything like that. But you can't give a woman a healthy baby boy or baby girl as they ask for it, and it's not genetically in the top 1%, then you're not actually a male. That's my opinion. And so you answer me now, Aaron. Is it the case that, is it the case? What? No, I'm not Jewish. I don't know why it would matter, but who, me or the guy? No, I'm a former Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And so I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. Can you guys not try to, please don't create a aggressive or uncomfortable situation in chat for people. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And so I don't think Aaron can answer why I'm wrong. If I want to say that, well, I'm pro-trans, but I'm pro-trans because only a true male can give women the 1% baby, the 1% high quality baby that most people demand, right? And it's not a product, but really a male would give women a healthy baby, and they're actually the most responsible for a great set of genetic code. And so if you can't do that and you're not confident in it, and you can't really, kind of speak to a woman and explain that to her, you're not actually a man. Right? Is that not right? Yeah, see, Anna knows. Yeah, we got to get this out to the people, and so this is the problem. All these, all these red pill circles that talk about their masculinity. Well, I haven't quite seen proof or evidence that you can give a woman who consents a healthy top 1% baby boy or baby girl, right? And if that baby goes out to be trans perfectly well, I agree with that. I don't have an opinion about that, but I do know one thing. I know that a true male gives a woman a top 1% baby. And so what's really more important, what's actually like your values versus my values, or what the world is like, truth. You ask me, can a man get pregnant? I say, well, I really care about true men getting true women pregnant, and really just true men. Again, that top 1% sort of genetic packaging. You really know that there's going to be, meiosis that's happening. You're going to see this healthy baby boy or baby girl or future baby trans person, and they're going to be in the top 1%, right? Yeah. And so, God didn't, and this is your problem actually, is you think ironically and hilariously, God made man and woman as a set and a pair. You're wrong. God made alpha Chad males who give women a top 1% baby, Yeah. And you can say you don't get to, if you're not a top 1% baby yourself, and you're not sure if you're a top 1% sort of baby producer, you don't get to call yourself a male. You don't get to talk to me. You don't get to share your opinion. You can say, I have an opinion about science, like a little beta femboy or whatever, no offense, but that's okay. So 2 sexes, multiple genders. Someone can identify as a woman while being male. Hey, sounds good. Sus solved it, right? Sus seemed like they solved it. Cool. God doesn't make mistakes. Yeah, Alice knows. Yeah. And so this is what I've discovered. This is my Gnostic knowledge about God and about masculinity. Is my Gnostic knowledge about God is that if you can produce a top 1% baby, you get to call yourself a male. And so when I see these fake red pill influencers, when I see them taking his name and using his name to define their sense of masculinity, that's not true. And so, yeah, we should say, actually, let's actually talk about it, right? Obviously, so for a full debate or conversation on this type of topic, it would take some time. That's just how most people say it. And so, you guys shouldn't listen to people like Myron Gaines. I don't know for sure, right? I'm not God, but I don't see Myron Gaines as capable of giving a woman a top 1% genetic package. I don't think his Chungus is truly like that caliber. Not that I don't know, but he just doesn't seem like it to me. I don't see people like Andrew Wilson. A lot of the Orthodox streamers, I don't see them having top 1% packages, kind of suited for like actually being male. So it's kind of hard, What do we do in a society when we see this too? That's maybe the main problem. What do we see in society when there are feminized men who talk about masculinity and deceive young men about what masculinity is? As someone who's very much so pro LGBTQIA plus representation in politics, but culturally in society as well. These are different things, but they're sort of the same thing in the same sense. You get intersectionality in both cases. Like guys like Andrew Wilson have to know this. Guys like Jay Dyer have to know this. Other apologists have to know this. And yeah, red pill influencers like Andrew Tate, like Myron Gaines, all these guys, they have to be really confident about their top 1% Chungus producing ability. I don't think they are. I think they speak in order to make money. And if you don't believe that, then you will have been deceived. And you've also let another man tell you what to think. Wow. What a lot. That's a lot to think about. Only men can teach boys how to be men. Yeah, to me, that doesn't mean anything. And as what I believe is a 1%, genetic package producing male, I don't know how you are qualified to say that. Maybe you are. I just don't know. I used to know a chick in my 20s who was super cool. She'd be like, want to go smash meat parts together. And she was the best. Okay, cool. Aaron knows. Are you not here saying you should telling people what they should do? What? Joel, I'm going to tell you what. I enjoyed talking to you, but I'm going to give you 24 hours and you should go download Grammarly and go to Wikipedia. And with that, I think we reached the end state. We've encouraged Joel Phoenix to download Grammarly, and to understand why he's downloaded Grammarly, also to go to Wikipedia. And so if you have a smartphone, turn that into your library. If you have a smartphone and you're a social media content producer, turn that into your studio. Do research. It is your library. Be responsible, right? You would not, just personally, my ethics, I would not use my library if it was my only one without battery saver mode. I would make sure I had it for longer, and it would be my library, it would be my studio, and that's it. You can see how hard it is and how much time it takes. Hey, Carolina, we are ending the stream. We talked about ICE a little bit. I hope I did a decent job defending society, defending the culture against anti-male and anti-trans bigots and xenophobes, racists. Please like and subscribe. I will, or whatever. Yeah, good to see you. Enjoy your Sundays. I'll catch you guys around. We're a politics channel. When it's not the case that we're seeing ICE shootings first thing when we wake up in the morning, I'm also releasing content on philosophy, sometimes science topics. I'm fascinated with scientific communication, fascinated by globalization, fascinated by philosophy, culture, and society. And that's it. Thanks, Anna, for being here. Thanks, Anna. And Anna, I have one thing to say. Hey, can't we just agree fellas get to be fellas and chicks get to be chicks just like it once was? Now, I'll catch you guys later. Have a good day.